All right, is your resume actually ATS-friendly? Welcome to the Machine Vision Explainer. Today, we are pulling back the curtain on literally one of the most frustrating mysteries in the professional world, the Applicant Tracking System, or ATS for short. If your applications feel like they're just, disappearing into a black hole, you're in exactly the right place. We're going to look at your resume straight through the eyes of a machine.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Why are your job applications disappearing into absolute silence? We've all been there, right? You find the perfect role, you absolutely know you have the exact experience they're asking for, you submit that carefully crafted application, and then crickets. Absolute silence. Days turn into weeks, and you start wondering, wait, are my qualifications just not good enough anymore? Well, I want to validate that frustration right now, but I also want to completely shift your perspective. Because that silence you're experiencing, it is highly, highly likely that your excellent qualifications are not the reason you're being rejected. The problem isn't your career. Actually, the problem is a technical glitch. Here's the unsettling reality. Most resumes get rejected before a human being ever even lays eyes on them. And it's not because you aren't qualified. It's simply because the ATS machine, the software screening applications at pretty much every mid-size and large employer, it just couldn't read your file. The system hits a wall trying to parse your data, throws its digital hands up, and just completely discards the application. And the absolute worst part? You get zero warning messages. No little pop-up saying, hey, formatting error. Your application just vanishes into the void, leaving you totally in the dark. Now, this is the exact trap so many experienced professionals fall into. Think about it. After 15, 20 years in your career, you naturally want to use sleek columns and tables to show off everything you've achieved, right? You build this beautiful template. It looks incredibly impressive to a human. But the machine? The machine extracts scrambled nonsense. It wasn't built to appreciate your graphic design skills. It just wants raw data. And when your design blocks that extraction, the machine fails you.
And it's really important to recognize that the stakes here are significantly higher for professionals over 40. Think about it. At this stage in your career, you're usually applying to larger, more established employers. And guess what? Those are exactly the organizations running the strictest, most rigid parsing systems. Plus, let's be honest, older professionals are already actively fighting against age-related assumptions in the hiring process. When your beautifully designed resume gets scrambled by the system, well, to the recruiter who eventually glances at the database, it doesn't look like a technical error. It just looks like a garbled, careless mess. And a careless resume plays straight into the very biases you are actively trying to overcome.
So we need to fix this. And to do that, we need to adopt a brand new mantra. See exactly what the machine sees. This is our first key insight. The ATS doesn't care about your elegant fonts, your subtle color palette, or your incredibly sophisticated layout. It is completely blind to all of that stuff. It literally only sees a blind stream of text. If you want to know why you aren't getting callbacks, you have to look at that exact same stream of text. So I'm going to empower you to run a highly revealing test right now. We call it the plain text test, and it takes less than 2 minutes. Step 1, open your beautifully formatted resume, select all the content, and just copy it. Step 2, open a plain text editor. If you're on Windows, use Notepad. If you're on a Mac, use TextEdit, but just make sure it's set to plain text. Paste everything right in there. And step 3, take a deep breath and read that text from top to bottom. Because what you are staring at right now is effectively exactly what the parser extracts. And honestly, this brilliantly illustrates exactly where things go wrong. As you read your plain text file, I want you to hunt for 3 specific failures. First, is everything in the wrong order? Like if your job title from 2015 is suddenly floating next to your college degree, the parser unspooled your layout. Second, are there missing items? If your phone number completely vanished, it was probably trapped in a header that the system just stripped away. And third, do you see garbage characters? If you see broken symbols or mashed together words, your fonts didn't translate. Basically, if your plain text reads like a scrambled ransom note, no amount of keyword optimization is going to save it. So the absolutely crucial point here is figuring out what exactly is causing this ransom note scramble, right? We need to identify the culprits. Well, it turns out there are 6 specific, quote-unquote, impressive design elements that act as absolute formatting killers. They're like little gremlins just tearing your document apart. Let's name them so you can eliminate them from your document entirely. Okay, here are your 6 formatting killers. First up, tables. They're actually the #1 destroyer. They completely scramble your timeline. Second, text boxes. Anything inside them floats invisibly, so the machine literally never sees your skills. Third, headers and footers. These are often stripped out entirely, which takes your contact info right with them. Fourth, multiple columns. See, the parser reads straight across horizontally, which ends up fusing totally unrelated sentences together. Fifth, graphics and images. The machine ignores them completely, and they ruin your keyword density. And finally, number 6, non-standard characters. Those fancy check marks you like? The system just reads them as gibberish wingdings. Keep it clean and simple. Let's move to and see how this builds. Now that we've stripped away the formatting killers that break the system, it's time to build your resume back up in a way the machine absolutely loves. And we do this through 3 essential finishing checks. Our first finishing check is your file format. This is critical, folks. The DOCX format, your standard Word document, is the universally safest choice. Every major system reads it reliably. Now, on the other hand, we have the PDF format. PDFs are generally acceptable if the application explicitly requests them, sure, but they can be highly inconsistent on older, stricter systems. So the golden rule here, when in doubt, just use DOCX. And please, whatever you do, never, ever submit an image-based PDF, a scanned document, or an Apple Pages file. Those will fail almost everywhere. The second finishing check involves your section headings. Parsers are specifically programmed to look for very recognizable labels so they can understand where your work history begins and where your education ends. Honestly, this is not the time to be creative. If you use a heading like, say, where I've made an impact instead of professional experience, the system might literally bypass your entire work history. Just keep your section headings completely boring and conventional. Professional summary, skills, professional experience, education. Save your unique personality and your big achievements for the bullet points underneath. Our third and final check is keyword coverage. ATS systems score your resume by matching it against the specific language on the job posting. Now, notice I said coverage, not stuffing. This means you need to pull up the job description and really compare it to your resume. Are you using the employer's exact words? If they ask for stakeholder management and your resume says working with leadership, the system just sees a weak match. You have to ensure the genuine, truthful overlap between your experience and their needs is stated in the exact language the system recognizes. All right, so let's tie all of this together into a highly practical, repeatable self-audit. I want you to make this your easy go-to habit before hitting apply on any important role. Step 1, run that plain text test to spot the invisible scramble. Step 2, hunt down and completely eliminate those 6 formatting killers. Step 3, lock in your format as a DOCX with boring standard headings. Step 4, run a careful keyword comparison against the specific job description. And Step 5, run one final plain text test, just to ensure your cleaned-up version parses perfectly. Seriously, this 15-minute routine changes everything. Now, running this audit manually works wonders for sure, but I know doing it for every single application can get pretty tedious. If you want to save some time, you can actually automate this entire process with a tool called Pass the Scan. You just upload your resume, and it scans it in minutes. It flags those exact formatting killers we talked about, shows you exactly what the system can and cannot read, does the keyword comparison for you, and, this is huge, it even highlights age-revealing signals you might not have noticed. It gives you a really clear, actionable report right before you apply, taking all the guesswork totally out of the equation. Which brings us to the absolute most important takeaway of this entire explainer. Your experience was never the issue. The qualifications, the hard work, the achievements, they were always there. You just had an invisible communication breakdown with the database. But now that you know how to speak the machine's language, you are back in control. So, I leave you with this. Are you ready to stop disappearing into the void, run the test, and let the machine finally read the qualifications you've always had? Go fix that formatting and go get that interview. Thanks for joining me today on this explainer, and happy applying.